Breaking news in a CBS Sports HQ, Orlando, you are on the clock. The Magic now hold the top pick in this June's NBA draft. Behind the Magic sit the Thunder, Rockets, and Kings in that order. Sacramento was the biggest mover upward into a top 4 pick, but as for the top team, the Magic will select first overall for the first time since 2004 when they selected Dwight Howard first overall. And there's a look at your first 14 picks with the Magic, Thunder, Rockets, and Kings coming in as the top 4. The Pistons, they get bumped to number 5 here and then slotted in behind in terms of record throughout the regular season are numbers 5 through 14. All right, let's get into it. They've got answers. We've got questions. Tim Doyle, Avery Johnson here in the wake of the news that the Orlando Magic now have the first overall pick. TD, first word goes to you as the Magic try and climb out of the cellar. What does this mean to those chances?
Jalen Suggs was last year's first-round pick for the Orlando Magic. High school teammates of, I can't remember. Oh, that's right. Chet Holmgren. Oh, the general manager, John Hammond, of the Orlando Magic. The last place he worked was Milwaukee, where he's the general manager. I think he drafted a project named Giannis. I mean, this is like, this is the easiest thing I've ever seen. There's no way they're not taking Chet number 1. John Hammond has the juice. He has kind of that, past performances that you look at, that he's a proven track record. Chet's going to Orlando. Book it.
It's Tim Doyle standing in his basement, connecting the dots, but they are connecting quite easily. You make great points there, TD. Coach, as you take a look at Orlando, if history is any indication, whoever they pick will be a success. This will be their fourth overall pick. Following Dwight Howard there, you see an 0-4 Chris Webber, who did end up netting the Magic Penny Hardaway, so a win any way you slice it, and Shaq the year prior in 1992. How big of a moment is this for the Magic franchise as they try and get things turned around to past glory, Coach?
It's big, but when you look at their roster, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., you look at some of their other bigs, Franz Wagner. I can't see them passing up on a guy like Jabari Smith. And I love my buddy Tim Doyle, but Jabari Smith, to pass up on this type of a talent just because of Chet Holmgren's relationship with Suggs, it didn't work out too good. In Indianapolis, by the way. Tim and I had a front row seat, okay? So they don't want to see the Baylor Bears anymore. But my point is, I think if I was the general manager of Orlando, I still would lean more towards Jabari Smith because I don't see that type of talent in their front court on their roster compared to Chet Holmgren.
Guys, as we take a look at the team slotted at number 2, picks will be the theme for the better part of the next decade. The Thunder currently possess 37 draft picks in the next 7 years. That's 19 first-rounders. There they are sitting at 2 with plenty of talent. We talked about it moments ago about how maybe you don't necessarily want the top overall pick or you don't want to be the guy going to a poor scenario situation as they try and rebuild here. You saw a rookie in Josh Giddey who really stated his claim a year ago, TD. What do the Thunder need to address here at number 2?
The Thunder are going to take Jabari Smith, and the conversation is going to be in 3 or 4 years, Musso, should they have taken Jaden Ivey? They're like this is the Trailblazers not drafting Jordan because they had Drexler. Like, this is it. Like, they're in that spot right now. Because they're going to take this guy because the first the Chet thing, there's just too many things that line up. Coach may be right. Jabari Smith may end up being a better NBA player, but they're going to take Chet number 1. So the Thunder, I just can't see them with SGA and Giddey taking Ivy. That seems like an unusual pick. So I can't see Smith slipping past 2, Coach.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for Paolo Banchero. I like him here. I like his size. Obviously, I have Jabari Smith going 1 to Orlando. This is a perfect fit with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just the shooting ability. This guy got kind of like a miniature LeBron type of a body. So his durability, I think, is going to be a big key, especially with Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, obviously, even with Banchero, I don't think they're playoff team, especially in the Western Conference. They're probably about 2-3 years away. But this is another piece. They signed Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to the extension. Now you got to start filling in some of the other pieces. You got to remember now, Sam Presti, this is a guy that drafted Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. So he's had an eye for talent. And I think he's going to go this route with Paolo with this second pick. If he's not going to Orlando with the number 1 pick.
We are working all on contingencies here, Coach. I do want to talk about the number 3 team, who is the source of some slander earlier on in the show. The Houston Rockets, if this were the NFL, would be on the clock at number 1, but it is not. And by 2 games, they would have that honor. Instead, it'll be the Orlando Magic. But at 3, the Rockets, they have plenty of needs to address. How do they go about their business, Coach?
Well, I think they got to address some of the off-season issues, the discipline issues. You know, you had Porter, Kevin Porter having issues with the assistant coach. And I think they got to look at their culture. But they're going to get a top player, and any of the players that we mentioned, if Chet Holmgren slides, he'll be good here. If Jabari slides to 3, I be good, you know, as a back. So I think there are a lot of different guys that can work here, but they have to get their culture set and figure out if they're going to move forward with Stephen Silas as a coach, or is he going to be in the lame duck situation? Whereas if they get off to a slow start, are they going to make a coaching move, or they're going to give him a chance to ride this out?
You don't want to go to Houston if you're a draft pick right now. Like, you just ruined Chet Holmgren's life, Coach. He was going to go play with his high school teammate. He was going to be the number 1 pick. Now you got him down in Houston, where Porter and Green is never going to throw him the ball. Like, what a horrible scenario for Chet. like, Chet's playing with his high school boy. Like, you want that's the pros. And my dad played in the NBA, albeit 2 seasons, and Avery knows this as well as anybody. It's all about fit, and it's all about going to the team that fits your skill set. You know, I'll use a football comparison. Wes Welker was a wide receiver who got cut by the Dolphins. Put him with Tom Brady, one of the best wide receivers of his generation. So, you know, it's all about going to the right team. I don't want to see anybody go here. I think it's an absolute nightmare down there in Houston. I think if Chet goes down there, I see it being a really poor fit. Sengun has some talent. It's a good passer. I don't know. They have some guys that certainly have a lot of talent. But Coach talked about their culture. They have no identity. I don't know what kind of style of basketball they play. They kind of just run up and down. So that would be a really bad break for Chet. I think that would be an awful break for Paolo. I think it would be a really interesting thing if Ivy went there to play with Porter and Green. I mean, they only have 1 basketball down there in Houston. So that is a really interesting franchise, because if I was a draft pick, I wouldn't want to go there.
It will no doubt be the steepest hill to climb here in these first few picks for whoever does end up in Houston. Let's round out the top 4 here with our biggest mover in this draft, Sacramento, jumping up into a top 4 position. That'll be the highest pick that they make since selecting Marvin Bagley Jr. second in the Luka Trae Young draft. But again, another conversation for another day. I know they're going crazy in Doko right now, TD. As you look at the Kings, they've tended to hoard drafts, guards through drafts at times. Do you think they go best available again? Like, what does Sacramento need to do here to insulate, let's say, De'Aaron Fox with some talent?
You know, Avery and I think kind of along the same lines, right? Both guys that played the point guard position, and we have, you know, kind of totally different drafts here. I think best case scenario for Sacramento is Jaden Ivey falls to them, because Jaden Ivey may be the best player in this draft. Now, you know, some of the other organizations that have previous picks, you know, they have kind of guys that play a similar style and dominate the basketball. But man, if he goes to Sacramento, I think that is best case scenario for the Kings. I don't know if I've ever said it's the best case scenario for a draftee to end up in Sacramento. Although Joe Musso was running the streets there for some years, okay, while he was a single man. So if Ivy ends up in Sacramento, I think that's a major win for the Kings.
Yeah, I think more than this draft, you mentioned it earlier, Joe, they got to figure out what's going to happen with De'Aaron Fox. A lot of times when you focus on the draft, and I know this is what we're talking about, but who is De'Aaron Fox? Is he a legitimate starting point guard, or can you trade him and get 2 other players back, hand the keys to your backup, who won a championship at Baylor, and try to get some more talent in here for their newly appointed coach, Mike Brown. But I can see Ivy landing here. You know, you have some other guys. We'll see if any of those top guys will fall. But this is a team that's just, you know, significantly underperformed over the last 5 years. And that's why they've had so many coaching changes. So I just think they have to address their starting point guard. Who is he? Is he a guy that they think can be a playoff type of a player that can lead them to their first playoff berth in a long time? Or do they need to trade him and try to get multiple picks, multiple players back to go along with the player that they're going to draft?
It is all the problem of Monty McNair, who is left to really tie up those loose ends in Sacramento, but he's heading home with a better pick tonight than he thought he may have. Gentlemen, great stuff as always. We appreciate your time. All right, let's take a look at the odds to be picked first overall this year's upcoming draft coming in June. Jabari Smith, he's your favorite on the board at even money, 1-1 right there. Chet Holmgren presenting a little value at plus 160 as Tim Doyle outlined some of the easily connected dots there. Paolo Banchero, 4-1 go first overall. And then Jaden Ivey, 20-1 if you believe in the hype of Jaden Ivey.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.